In the depths of winter's cruel embrace, when darkness falls early and stars glitter like ice crystals in the vast expanse above, a single sound breaks the silence of a peaceful home nestled at the edge of a snow-blanketed forest. It begins as something almost imperceptible, a faint scratching at the door, so delicate it might be dismissed as merely the wind's ghostly fingers, or perhaps a branch surrendering to winter's weight. The family inside, gathered in the golden glow of their living room, pauses their conversation. Did they imagine it? Then it comes again, more deliberate this time, a desperate plea cutting through the howling storm outside. "What was that?" whispers the mother, her eyes meeting her husband's across the room. Their children, wide-eyed with curiosity, look toward the door. The father rises slowly, cautiously approaching the entrance to their sanctuary. The scratching grows more insistent, more urgent, a desperate symphony against the wooden barrier. With hesitant fingers, he reaches for the handle, turns it slowly, and pulls the door open against the force of the wind. What greets them is not the expected empty porch, but a sight that stops time itself. There, trembling violently on their doorstep, lies a creature so small and fragile, it seems impossible it survived even minutes in the merciless cold. A kitten, barely more than a handful of fur, its tiny body crusted with ice and snow, its eyes barely open, fixed on the man with a gaze that transcends species. The man stands frozen, not from the biting cold that rushes past him, but from the piercing connection with this tiny being fighting for its very existence. The kitten's breath forms the faintest cloud in the frigid air, proof that somehow, against all odds, life still flickers within its diminutive frame. Behind him, his wife gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. Their children peer around his legs, their faces etched with concern and wonder. "It's dying," the oldest whispers, giving voice to the terrible truth hanging in the air between them. The father kneels down slowly, extending his hand toward the shivering creature. The kitten makes no attempt to flee, whether from trust or simply the absence of strength, it's impossible to tell. Its fur, what little can be seen beneath the frost, appears to be an unusual silver gray, almost luminescent in the porch light. A heavy silence falls as the parents exchange glances laden with uncertainty. Should they bring this wild creature into their home? What if it belongs to someone searching desperately in the storm? What if it carries disease? What if saving it means claiming it? But in that moment, the kitten lets out a sound so heartbreaking and pure, halfway between a meow and a sob, that all hesitation evaporates like morning mist. Some decisions transcend logic. Some moments change the course of lives forever. The father's weathered hands move forward, cradling the tiny frozen miracle as if holding something infinitely precious. Because in this moment, on this night, that's exactly what it is. What no one in the family realizes as they usher this unexpected visitor into the warmth of their home is that this is not just any kitten. And this is just the beginning of an extraordinary journey that will challenge everything they thought they knew about the mysterious creatures we share our world with. A fragile heartbeat flutters beneath frozen fur, each pulse a desperate battle against the unforgiving winter that had nearly claimed its prize. Inside the warmth of the family home, time seems suspended as all eyes fixate on the tiny being now lying motionless on their kitchen counter. "We can't just let it die!" The youngest child's voice breaks the spell of uncertainty, her eyes brimming with tears that threaten to spill over. "Please, we have to help it!" Her small hands clutch at her mother's sweater, her gaze never leaving the kitten's barely rising chest. The parents exchange glances heavy with unspoken concerns. Veterinary bills, the responsibility of another life, the possibility of heartbreak. But in their child's pleading eyes, they see something pure and undeniable, a compassion that transcends practicality, a wisdom that adults sometimes forget. "It won't survive another minute outside," the father whispers, his voice barely audible above the howling wind that rattles the windows. With gentle hands that belie their strength, he scoops up the kitten, so light it barely registers in his palms, so cold it sends a shock through his fingers. What happens next unfolds with the urgency of a trauma room. The mother rushes to gather soft towels, while the older child clears a space by the crackling fireplace. The kitchen transforms into a makeshift emergency room, the family united in their desperate mission to save a life teetering on the edge of existence. As they peel away the cruel layers of ice from its silver-gray fur, they gasp collectively. Beneath the frozen shell lies a creature of extraordinary beauty. Unusual markings that seem to shimmer in the firelight, ears slightly larger than normal, and most striking of all, eyes that flutter open briefly to reveal irises of the deepest amber, almost golden in their intensity. Is it even a normal cat? The older child whispers, voicing the question forming in all their minds. But there's no time to wonder. The kitten's breathing grows labored, each inhale a battle, each exhale potentially its last. The mother, with the instinct of someone who has nurtured life before, begins to gently massage its tiny limbs, coaxing frozen blood to flow once more. They wrap it carefully in warm towels, creating a cocoon of safety before placing it near, but not too near, the dancing flames of the fireplace. The youngest child lies beside it, her face inches from the bundle, whispering encouragements that only the kitten can hear. "You're going to be okay. You're safe now. Please don't die." Outside, the blizzard rages with renewed fury, as if angry that its victim has been stolen away. Inside, a family holds its collective breath, feeling the weight of responsibility press upon them. They have made their choice, to intervene in fate's design, to fight against nature's cruel indifference. None of them speak the hard truth hovering in the air, that despite their efforts, the kitten might not survive until morning. Its body has endured too much, been too close to the threshold between life and death. As darkness deepens, and the fire casts dancing shadows across their worried faces, they settle in for a long vigil. Something tells them that this night will change them forever, that in saving this mysterious creature, they have set in motion events beyond their understanding. For in this kitten's strange amber eyes, in the unusual markings on its frostbitten fur, lies a secret that will soon shake the foundations of everything they believe about the natural world. As the merciless night deepens and the storm howls like a wounded beast, a silent war wages within the walls of the family home, a desperate battle against time and cold, with the smallest of lives hanging in the balance. The fragile form of the kitten, still wrapped in its cocoon of towels, shows no signs of improvement, its tiny body radiating a chill that seems to defy the crackling warmth of the nearby fire. "It's still so cold," whispers the father, his weathered fingers gently touching the kitten's frost-damaged ears. "I don't know if we're doing enough." The mother, her face illuminated by the blue glow of her laptop screen, scrolls frantically through veterinary forums and emergency animal care sites. Her eyes scan the information with desperate intensity, searching for the wisdom that might save this mysterious creature that fate has entrusted to their care. "We need to be careful," she announces, her voice steadier than her trembling hands. "Warming it too quickly could send its body into shock. We need warm compresses, not hot, and we need to raise its core temperature gradually." What follows is a choreography of compassion, the father preparing compresses of precisely the right temperature, the older child monitoring the kitten's barely perceptible breathing, the younger one whispering continuous encouragements into its unresponsive ears. The mother directs their efforts with the focus of a battlefield commander, applying her newly acquired knowledge with methodical precision. Hour after endless hour passes, the midnight clock chimes and fades. The storm outside begins to lose its fury, as if exhausted by its own violence. Inside, the family's hope flickers and dims like the dying embers in the fireplace. The kitten remains motionless, its silver-gray fur now dry, but its body still unnaturally still. Despite their heroic efforts, despite the love poured into every careful compress and gentle massage, it shows no signs of returning from the threshold between worlds. Maybe we were too late. The older child finally voices the fear that has been growing in all their hearts, a sob catching in their throat. The younger child shakes her head fiercely, refusing to accept defeat. "No, it's going to wake up. It has to." But even her unwavering faith begins to waver as the night stretches endlessly on. The father rises to add another log to the dwindling fire, his movements heavy with the weight of impending loss. The mother closes her laptop, her eyes red-rimmed from strain and unshed tears, and then, Cutting through the heavy silence like a ray of sunlight through storm clouds comes a sound so faint it might have been imagined. A tiny, broken meow, barely louder than a breath. The family freezes, afraid to believe. Had they imagined it? A collective breath held, waiting. Then it comes again, slightly stronger this time. The kitten's paw twitches, and its extraordinary eyes, those amber orbs that seem to hold ancient secrets, flutter open for the briefest moment. "It's fighting!" gasps the mother, new energy surging through her exhausted frame. "Quick, the dropper with the sugar water!" The battle isn't over, far from it. But in that miraculous moment, as the little creature struggles back toward life with a resilience that defies understanding, the family feels something powerful shift within the room. This isn't just about saving a stray animal anymore. Somehow, in ways they cannot yet comprehend, this mysterious kitten with its unusual markings and golden eyes represents something far greater, a test of humanity, compassion, and the inexplicable connections that bind all living things together in the face of nature's harshest challenges. Dawn breaks reluctantly over the snow-covered landscape, pale fingers of light reaching through frost-etched windows to touch the scene of quiet triumph within. The kitten, no longer a frozen statue but a breathing, living miracle, lies curled in a soft blanket, its tiny chest rising and falling with newfound strength. The family, exhausted but elated, gathers around their precious charge, their faces bearing the battle scars of a sleepless night spent waging war against death itself. "It's incredible," murmurs the mother, gently stroking the kitten's now dry fur. "Last night, I didn't think." Her voice trails off, unwilling to give words to the darkness they had faced together. With the immediate danger past, curiosity blooms in its place. The father leans in closer, his weathered face creased with puzzlement as he examines their mysterious visitor in the revealing light of morning. "No collar," he observes, carefully checking the kitten's neck. His fingers move with gentle precision, parting the unusual silver-gray fur that seems to shimmer with iridescent highlights never before seen on any domestic cat. "And look at these markings. Have you ever seen anything like this?" The family crowds closer, their eyes widening as they truly see the creature they've saved for the first time. Strange, almost geometric patterns dance across its back, subtle swirls and lines that seem almost deliberate in their placement. And those eyes, now occasionally flickering open, reveal irises of such intense amber they appear almost luminous against the creature's delicate face. "Where did you come from, little one?" whispers the youngest child, her finger gently tracing the unusual markings. The question hangs in the air, unanswered, yet increasingly urgent. The father pulls on his heavy boots and coat, determination etched on his face. "I'm going to check outside. Maybe there are others, or some sign of where it came from." The bitter cold greets him like a slap as he steps onto the porch, his eyes scanning the pristine expanse of snow surrounding their isolated home. The storm has passed, leaving behind a world transformed, every surface glazed with ice, every branch encased in crystalline armor. But what strikes him most is the utter absence of what should be there. No paw prints leading to their door, no trail showing the kitten's desperate journey. Nothing but unmarked snow extending in every direction, as perfect and untouched as a blank canvas. How could a tiny creature have reached their doorstep without leaving a single trace? Back inside, his bewilderment is met with equal confusion from his family. "Could someone have dropped it off?" suggests the older child. But their home is miles from the nearest neighbor, the road impassable during last night's violent storm. The father shakes his head slowly. It's as if it appeared out of nowhere. The mother examines the kitten more carefully. No signs of neglect beyond its brush with death, no indication of human ownership or care. Its claws are intact, not clipped like a house pet's. Its unusual coloring suggests no breed she recognizes. As the kitten opens its extraordinary eyes and fixes them with a gaze that seems impossibly aware, impossibly old, a shiver of something beyond rational thought passes through the room. The youngest child articulates the strange feeling settling over them all. "Maybe it found us," she whispers. "Maybe it was looking for us." Outside, the winter sun illuminates a world of impossible beauty and merciless cold. Inside, a family circles protectively around a creature whose very existence has become a mystery that will soon lead them into realms of wonder and danger they cannot begin to imagine. For the kitten with eyes like molten gold is not what it seems, and its appearance on their doorstep was anything but random. As winter's grip tightens around the isolated home, inside, a delicate miracle unfolds with each passing hour. The mysterious kitten, once balanced precariously between life and death, now takes tentative steps toward recovery, its movements hesitant, but growing stronger with each dawn that breaks across the snow-laden landscape. The first days are a dance of patience and caution. The kitten retreats to the shadows beneath furniture when approached too quickly, its extraordinary amber eyes wide with lingering fear. It accepts the droppers of warm formula and tiny morsels of food only when hunger overcomes wariness, its body still remembering the brutal cold that nearly claimed its life. "Give it time," the mother whispers, watching her youngest child's disappointment when the kitten shrinks away from eager hands. "It's been through something we can't even imagine." They create a sanctuary in the corner of the living room, a soft nest of blankets bathed in the gentle warmth of the perpetually burning fireplace. The father crafts a makeshift shelter from a cardboard box, cutting an entrance that allows the tiny creature to retreat when the world becomes too overwhelming. A schedule emerges organically, the mother preparing the special formula recommended for malnourished kittens, the father checking its healing frostbitten paws, the older child researching care tips online. But it's the youngest who takes on the most sacred role, simply being present, sitting quietly beside the kitten's nest for hours, her patience outlasting even the most stubborn feline wariness. "I'm just going to sit here," she announces on the third day, settling cross-legged beside the box, a book open in her lap. "I won't touch you. I promise." Something in her voice, a gentleness beyond her years, seems to reach the frightened creature. As she reads aloud, her voice soft and melodic, the kitten emerges gradually from its sanctuary, first, just its unusual silver head, then its entire body, venturing closer to the sound that has become synonymous with safety. By the fifth day, the transformation is nothing short of magical. The family enters the living room to find the kitten curled in the young girl's lap, its unusual geometric markings rising and falling with each contented breath, its remarkable eyes closed in an expression of absolute trust. "Look," she whispers, afraid to break the spell. "It chose me." That night, when the kitten follows the child to her bedroom, climbing the stairs with newfound confidence, a conversation long bubbling beneath the surface finally emerges over steaming mugs of cocoa. "We should name it," the older child suggests, voicing what they've all been thinking. "If we're keeping it." The parents exchange meaningful glances. They had initially spoken of finding it a home once recovered, a responsible decision for a family who hadn't planned for a pet. But those discussions feel distant now, washed away by the tide of connection flowing through their home. "The way it looks at us," the father muses. "It's like it understands everything we say." The mother nods, remembering the kitten's gaze following their conversations, its attention focused with almost human-like comprehension. "And those markings? I've researched every breed. Nothing matches." Upstairs, oblivious to the discussion that will determine its fate, the kitten nestles against the youngest child's neck, its purr vibrating with contentment. For the first time since its miraculous appearance, it feels completely safe. The trauma of the storm, now a fading memory replaced by the warmth of an unbreakable bond. What none of them can possibly know is that this bond goes far deeper than simple animal affection. For as the kitten dreams beside its chosen human, ancient memories stir within its developing mind. Memories of purpose, of destiny, and of a mission that will soon reveal itself. Morning light dances across the kitchen floor, painting golden paths for the kitten to chase with newfound playfulness. 2 weeks have passed since that fateful winter night, and the transformation is nothing short of miraculous. No longer the frozen, barely breathing creature fighting for survival, the kitten now bounds through the house with growing confidence, its unusual silver-gray coat gleaming with health. The youngest child lies on her stomach, chin propped on her hands, watching her feline companion with adoration as it pounces on a makeshift toy, a feather tied to string. Her laughter fills the room as the kitten performs an acrobatic leap, twisting in midair before landing gracefully. "You're getting so strong," she exclaims, reaching out to stroke its back. As her fingers glide through the soft fur, the kitten rolls onto its side, stretching languidly in a patch of sunlight. That's when she notices it, a small, perfectly straight line cutting through the fur on the kitten's hind leg. Not a typical scratch or wound, but something more deliberate. "Mom," she calls, her voice tinged with concern. "I think there's something wrong with its leg." The mother kneels beside them, gently parting the fur to reveal what her daughter has discovered. A scar, thin and precise, the kind that comes not from nature's random cruelty, but from human intention. "That looks like..." she begins, then stops, unwilling to voice her suspicion. The father joins them, his weathered face creasing into a frown as he examines the mark. "A surgical scar," he finishes her thought. "Professional. Clean." A heavy silence falls over the room, broken only by the kitten's contented purr, oblivious to the discovery that has sent their minds racing with troubling new questions. "So it belonged to someone?" the older child asks, looking up from his homework. "Someone who took it to a vet?" The father shakes his head slowly. "Or something else. Research facilities sometimes." Again, words left unspoken, too disturbing to give voice to in front of the children. Later that afternoon, as the father clears snow from the driveway, their nearest neighbor, a retired ranger who lives a mile down the rural road, stops his truck to chat. "Glad to see your family made it through that nasty storm," he calls, climbing down from his vehicle. "Strangest thing, I was heading home that night, just before the worst hit. Saw an unfamiliar car pulled over near your turnoff. Dark sedan, couldn't make out the plates in the snow. Thought maybe someone was lost, but they drove off when I slowed down." The father's hand tightens around the shovel handle. "What time was this?" "Just after sunset." "Why do you ask?" That evening, after the children are asleep, the parents speak in hushed tones in the kitchen, the implications of these puzzle pieces spreading before them like a map to unknown territory. "Someone stopped near our house, in a blizzard, then drove away," the mother whispers. "And hours later, we find a kitten with a surgical scar, at our door." "It wasn't abandoned," the father says, voicing the conclusion they've both reached. "It was left, deliberately, for us to find." Outside, the winter moon casts long shadows across the pristine snow, revealing no tracks, no clues, no answers. Inside, curled against the youngest child's chest, the kitten opens its extraordinary amber eyes, gazing into the darkness, with an awareness that seems to transcend its feline nature. For a moment, just before sleep reclaims it, the geometric patterns on its back seem to shift slightly, glowing with a faint luminescence that vanishes as quickly as it appeared. Another mystery in a growing constellation of questions surrounding this creature that has become the heart of their home. Who would leave such a precious being in the killing cold? And more importantly, why? As January surrenders to February, the world outside remains locked in winter's embrace, but within the family home, a remarkable transformation unfolds. The kitten, once a fragile wisp of life teetering on existence's edge, now races through the hallways with boundless energy, its silver-gray coat catching the light in ways that seem almost magical. Where once there was hesitation, now there is courage. Where there was weakness, now there is strength. The mysterious creature with amber eyes has blossomed under the family's devoted care, its spirit returning with a vibrancy that fills the house with newfound joy. "It's like watching a completely different animal," the father marvels one evening, observing as the kitten performs a series of impossible leaps from furniture to bookshelf to curtain rod, defying gravity with playful abandon. "Remember how we weren't sure it would even survive that first night?" The mother smiles, her eyes following the acrobatic display. "Some things are meant to fight their way back from the edge," she says softly. "Some souls just have too much life in them to surrender." Most remarkable of all is the kitten's devotion to its saviors. It shadows them through their daily routines with unwavering loyalty, helping the father sort his tools in the garage, curling beside the mother as she works at her desk, watching with curious eyes as the older child completes homework. But it's with the youngest that the bond transcends ordinary understanding. The little girl who once wandered the house in quiet solitude, often lost in her own imagination, while her older sibling pursued more independent interests, now has a constant companion. The kitten follows her everywhere, responding to her voice with chirps and trills that seem almost conversational, sleeping curled against her neck each night as if protecting her from unseen dangers. They understand each other, the older child observes, watching his sister engaged in what appears to be a two-way conversation with the feline, her whispers met with attentive head tilts and expressive blinks. It's like they speak the same language. One snowy afternoon, as the family gathers in the living room, the mother finds herself transfixed by the scene before her once lonely youngest child laughing as the kitten performs an elaborate game of chase around her feet, both of them radiating a happiness that fills the room like sunshine. "Do you remember what you said the night before the storm?" she asks her husband quietly. "About feeling like something was missing in our lives?" He nods, following her gaze to where their daughter now cradles the purring kitten, its extraordinary eyes half closed in contentment. "And then this little miracle appears on our doorstep," he murmurs, almost as if it was meant to find us, she finishes, voicing the feeling that has been growing in all their hearts. The questions still linger: the surgical scar, the mysterious car, the impossible journey through trackless snow. But watching the profound connection between child and kitten, these mysteries pale against a simpler, more powerful truth. Whatever forces brought this creature to their door that frigid night, it belongs with them now. In saving its life, they've each received an unexpected gift. The kitten with amber eyes has filled a void they hadn't fully recognized, bringing adventure to routine, wonder to the mundane, and companionship to solitude. As twilight settles over their snowbound sanctuary, the father watches the kitten stretch contentedly in his daughter's lap, its unusual markings seeming to shift and dance in the firelight. Something tells him that the greatest mysteries surrounding this extraordinary creature are yet to be revealed. For some bonds transcend explanation. Some connections are written in the stars long before they manifest on Earth. And sometimes, the most profound second chances come, disguised as tiny paws scratching at the door of your heart. As winter's harsh grip begins to loosen its hold on the landscape, the family gathers around their kitchen table, the atmosphere charged with a sense of ceremony. Before them lies a simple collar, purchased from the local pet store, a band of soft blue fabric adorned with a small silver bell and a heart-shaped tag waiting to be engraved. "It needs a name," the father says, his weathered hand gently stroking the kitten that now sits contentedly in the center of the table, its unusual amber eyes surveying each family member with what seems like knowing affection. "If it's going to be officially ours." The decision has been forming silently in their hearts for weeks, growing more certain with each passing day as the mysterious kitten became irreversibly woven into the fabric of their lives. The surgical scar remains an unexplained chapter in its past, but the present and future now seem crystal clear. The youngest child beams, her face alight with pure joy. "Can I be the one to choose?" she asks, already cradling the kitten closer, her fingers tracing the unusual geometric patterns that shimmer across its silver-gray coat. Later that afternoon, with the name chosen and the decision made, the father drives into town to have the tag engraved. The rural road, finally cleared of the worst snowdrifts, winds through forests still draped in winter white. At the crossroads where their isolated lane meets the main highway, something catches his eye, a flash of color against the monotone landscape. He slows the truck, peering through the windshield at a telephone pole near the intersection. His heart sinks like a stone dropped in still water. A poster, bright yellow paper protected by clear plastic, bold black letters proclaiming "Missing" above the unmistakable image of a silver-gray kitten with distinctive markings. With trembling fingers, he takes a photo with his phone before continuing to town, his mind racing with implications. The engraving shop owner notices his distraction. "Everything all right?" she asks, sliding the finished tag across the counter. He manages a nod, but the weight of what awaits at home sits heavy on his shoulders. That evening, after the children are asleep, he shows his wife the photo. The poster offers few details, just an image, a contact number, and the word "reward," but the resemblance is undeniable. Same unusual coloring, same distinctive markings, same extraordinary eyes. "What do we do?" she whispers, her voice catching. "The children, especially our youngest, they'll be devastated." "But if someone is searching for it," he responds, the conflict evident in his voice, "someone who cared enough to make posters, to offer a reward." The silent question hangs between them. What is the right thing to do? Morning brings the hardest conversation of their parenting journey. Gathered in the living room, with the kitten purring contentedly in the youngest child's lap, they gently explain what they've discovered. "Someone else might be missing it very much," the mother explains softly. "Just like we would if it disappeared from our lives now." The child's eyes fill with tears, her small fingers clutching the kitten closer. "But it chose us," she whispers, her voice breaking. "It came to our door. It nearly died." "I know, sweetheart," the father says, kneeling beside her. "But we need to at least call the number. We need to know who's looking for it." As understanding dawns in the child's eyes, the painful recognition that loving something sometimes means letting it go, the kitten fixes its extraordinary gaze upon her face. For a brief, strange moment, its unusual markings seem to pulse with a subtle light, and something passes between child and creature that transcends human comprehension. "Okay," she finally whispers, wiping away tears with determined bravery. "But first, can we have one more day together, just in case?" A somber silence fills the family car as it winds along the country roads, each mile bringing them closer to the moment they've been dreading. In the youngest child's lap, nestled in a small carrier, the kitten with amber eyes sleeps peacefully, unaware that its fate hangs in the balance. The child's fingers tremble slightly as they rest against the carrier door, savoring what might be their final moments together. "Remember," the mother says gently from the front seat, "we're doing the right thing. Sometimes love means making difficult choices." The address leads them to a modest farmhouse on the outskirts of town, its red barn visible against the winter bare trees. A woman emerges onto the porch as they pull into the driveway, her face lighting up with anticipation as she descends the steps to meet them. "You found our Luna?" she calls, hurrying toward them with hope etched across her features. "We've been searching for weeks." The father steps forward, the carrier held carefully in his hands. "We found this kitten during the big storm last month," he explains. "When we saw your poster." His voice trails off as the woman's expression shifts from joy to confusion. She peers into the carrier, where the silver-gray kitten now watches her with those extraordinary amber eyes, its unusual markings catching the pale winter sunlight. "That's not our Luna," she says slowly, straightening up with a puzzled frown. "The coloring is similar, but..." She shakes her head decisively. "Our kitten had white paws and a crooked tail, and she was much smaller." The family exchanges bewildered glances as the woman continues. "Actually, we found Luna 3 days ago. She'd been sheltering in our neighbor's shed all this time. I forgot to take down the posters." A moment of stunned silence follows, broken only by the kitten's soft meow from within the carrier, a sound that seems almost like gentle laughter. "So this isn't your cat?" the youngest child asks, her voice trembling with rekindled hope. "Definitely not," the woman replies, then tilts her head curiously. "Where did you say you found it?" "On our doorstep during the blizzard," the father answers. "No tracks leading to the house, no sign of where it came from. Just there." The woman's eyes widen slightly. "That's strange," she murmurs. "Almost like..." "Like what?" prompts the mother. The woman hesitates, then smiles softly. "My grandmother used to tell stories about spirit animals finding the families who needed them most, coming out of nowhere in times of need." She shrugs, embarrassed. "Just old country superstitions." The drive home feels entirely different, the heaviness replaced by jubilant relief, the car filled with laughter and excited chatter. The kitten sits on the youngest child's lap now, carrier door open, its remarkable eyes seeming to reflect their joy with knowing contentment. "It was meant to be ours all along," the child whispers, stroking the kitten's shimmering fur. "I knew it from the first night." As they pull into their driveway, the setting sun bathes their home in golden light. for a brief, extraordinary moment. As the kitten gazes out the window, its geometric markings pulse with a subtle luminescence that mirrors the dying sunlight, a final mystery in a journey filled with inexplicable wonders. That evening, as the family gathers around the fireplace, the newly named kitten moves from lap to lap, receiving gentle scratches and whispered endearments. The blue collar with its heart-shaped tag catches the firelight as the creature settles finally with the youngest child, where it first found love in this human home. "Do you think we'll ever know where it really came from?" the older child wonders aloud. The father smiles, watching the profound contentment on his daughter's face as she cradles her mysterious companion. "Some gifts," he says softly, "aren't meant to be explained, just appreciated." Outside, the first stars appear in the twilight sky, twinkling like distant beacons across the vast universe. Inside, surrounded by the warmth of family love, a most unusual kitten with amber eyes purrs softly, its mission complete. A lost soul that found its way home through winter's cruelest night, guided by forces beyond human understanding. Sometimes, the most extraordinary journeys begin with the smallest of sounds, a desperate scratch at the door on winter's darkest night. The silver kitten with amber eyes, once balancing on the knife's edge between life and death, now races through sunbeams that dance across the family's living room floor, its mysterious markings shimmering with vibrant life. Who could have imagined that a creature so fragile, so close to surrendering to the merciless cold, would transform not just its own fate, but the hearts of every person who welcomed it into their sanctuary? This is the miracle of compassion, that in saving another life, we often save something within ourselves. The youngest child, once walking the hallways in solitude, now never takes a step without her feline shadow, their connection transcending the ordinary boundaries between human and animal. In reaching out to a dying creature on that fateful night, this family opened a door to a love they never knew they were missing. Perhaps there are no accidents in this vast universe. Perhaps every lost soul has a destination written in the stars, a place where they are meant to belong, a heart they are destined to touch, a life they are fated to transform. This remarkable story reminds us that kindness is never wasted, that every act of compassion sends ripples into the world that return to us in ways we could never predict. Like this video if you believe in the power of compassion, share your own unexpected pet stories in the comments below, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales that celebrate the mysterious, magical connections between humans and the creatures who find their way into our lives.